Hi guys and welcome to Vesna TV. Thank you so much for stopping by. It is my Halloween edition. So let's get going. So I'm starting with these two doll houses from the Dollar Tree. I love these and I am going to make them into some spooky haunted house, into a spooky haunted house. So I'll start off by taking the roof off of one of them because I want it to be a two-level haunted house. I thought about making two separate ones, but then I changed my mind and I wanted to make a bigger one. And then once I've done that, then I go ahead and I paint everything, and I'm just using some acrylic paint. I am mixing some black acrylic paint together with some silver acrylic paint. And I'll save the roof of the second house for maybe a different project, but for now I'll paint them separately. I thought I might glue them together, but I think it worked out better to just paint them first and then glue them after. I was worried that with moving it around and whatnot, I would take it apart. I mean, like break it apart. So I'll paint it first and then I will go ahead and glue it. So you can use chalk paint if you want. I just have lots of acrylic paint that needs to be used, so I'm using that. And then you'll see at the end I put Mod Podge over top because the plastic with the paint, it does peel off easily, so hopefully this will keep the paint sticking a little bit longer. Not measuring anything with the paints, I'm just mixing them together to get, I just wanted more of like a grayish black rather than a full black color. And I paint the entire house as well as the inside of the house because I don't want the white showing through at all. And I will be adding some lights once I set up my decoration, but it'll just be whatever, like a little tea light from the Dollar Tree. Nothing, I'm not adding any kind of electrical stuff, just like a little flashing battery operated light. So after I paint and dry the house, I go ahead and I just distress it a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm using some cashmere paint as well as some gold paint from the Dollar Tree again. And I'm mixing them together and just dry brushing all over the house. And then the doors, I'm making that color, like the mixed color. And the rest of the house, I'm just dry brushing over just to give it kind of like an aged type of look. And I'm just using a brush and I'm dabbing off the paint as I go to do the dry brushing. So if you don't know what dry brushing is it's when you take your brush, you put some paint on it, and then you kind of dab off the extra paint and leave it to be fairly dry, and you just like slightly put paint on in different spots, so it gives, like, you're not fully painting, you're just spot painting it and lightly brushing it on whatever you're making. So that's what I'm doing with this. First I thought I would use this brush, but then I wound up just using a regular brush because this one was, I think I didn't wash it properly last time, so it was a little bit hard and it was causing some issues with taking paint off. Now you could put Mod Podge before you do the dry brushing to avoid, accidentally taking any kind of paint off, but I didn't, so I just did touch-ups wherever touch-ups need to be done. And then I went ahead and I just added one of these picks. These were just garden picks. You could use a paint stir stick as well, but I wound up using this just to give a little thing for the top of the house to sit on, because once you take the roof off, there's like a little lip where the roof slides on, so the heights of the house, it's a little bit different from one side to the other, so you just want to make sure that you make them the same height, so that way your house isn't crooked. Although it would be kind of cool if it would be crooked. I think that it would just have a gap in between rather than it being crooked, because it would still sit on the thing, because the one side is lifted and the other side is lifted, and there's like a little tiny gap, so I wanted to fill in that gap, so I just put in two pieces. I cut up one of those sticks and I put two pieces measured out, and I put them one on top of the other. One I slotted underneath and the other one I just put over top, and then I had a little bit that needed to be filled in as well, so I put that in. I just cut off a little piece and I put it in there, and then I filled everything that kind of looked like there was a gap. I put more hot glue just so that it would be nice and full. Hopefully it makes sense as I'm talking, but you can watch what I'm doing so that way you get a good idea of what I am talking about. So once I finished gluing everything on, I just used hot glue. I then wound up just painting over top of that with that same combination of the black and metallic, because I wanted to make sure that nothing showed through, none of that lighter wood showed through, and you can't even tell that there was a gap once it's done. You'll see when I finish everything and show you, it looks quite nice, and you can. So as I mentioned, I Mod Podged everything just so that the paint would stick better, and I just used one of these foam brushes to apply the Mod Podge. Don't press super hard, and make sure you're very generous with that Mod Podge because you don't want to take the paint off. But if you happen to take it off, you can just reapply it once everything is dry, and it will be okay. And then once this was dry, well, kind of dry, not fully dry, but kind of dry, I wound up gluing together the two houses. Now, I did use a combination of E6000 and hot glue. Just make sure when you're putting them on that you're not mixing the two glues, that, like, so what I did was in the middle, I put the E6000, and on the sides, I put the hot glue. And I just did that so it would hold it quicker together, so I wouldn't have to worry about clamping anything or making anything stick too much so they wouldn't fall as it was drying and setting. And then that's all there was to that. We'll see. Hopefully it holds up nicely. With the combination of the two glues, it should stay pretty still. Now for the hot glue, I used my hot glue gun that you plug in because I find that it makes it a little bit warmer, makes the glue a little bit hotter so that it sticks a bit better. Now that is basically it for this one. What I wound up adding, which you'll see in the finished piece here, is I added those little dolls that came with the dollhouse because it comes with furniture and little people. So I added the 3 ladies that it came with. I added them to each of the floors, as you can see here, in the doors and in the windows to give a little bit of a spook factor. And then I added a ghost as well. For the next project, I'm using a Dollar Tree wood cutout of a haunted house and these dowels from Dollarama. They're wood dowels that they'll help the house stand up straight. So again, I'm using a combination of both glues to glue that in, and that'll be the base of my house. Now I contemplated whether I was going to add a little bit of a roof and side structure to make it look like it was a three-dimensional house, but I didn't do it in the project to show you. If I decide to do it after, I'll link, yeah, if I decide to do it after, I'll probably share it on my Instagram, and then you can take a peek as to what I did. Or maybe I'll do a little blurb in my next video just to show you. Um, I am filling in that little hole because they all have that little hole for the little rope to hang it up on. So I am just filling that in with some wood filler. I just happen to have this colored one on hand, so I'm using that in there. You don't have to do this, and you could use anything to fill it in, but I chose to use this. And on the back I just glued a little piece of wood so that the wood filler would actually just stay in the hole and not go through the back. And then I painted out the house using that combination of the black and silver metallic paint. However, I lost the footage somehow. I don't know how, but I lost it. This happens to me often. I think my phone stops recording and then I lose it. But anyway, I wound up painting that, but before I painted it, I added a whole bunch of hot glue all over the house to make it look like it. And then I also used haunted, and it has cobwebs all over. And this came from the Dollar Tree. You'll see in the finished piece what that looks like. 3 of the bones together, and then I put the skull on top. And then I also added some embellishments using those little wood shapes, a little bit to make them a bit dirty. Which you'll see so here you can see the painted piece. Those wood shapes are from Dollarama. And I'm just adding the spider, the cobweb, the cat, and the poison sign on to the house. The poison sign I painted with a little bit of green and black mixed together, and the cat and the spider I painted black. The cobweb I dry brushed some black on it, but it all mainly looks pretty black. But I love the way the color turned out on the house. I didn't put too much of the paint on, so you can kind of see some of the brown showing through under. So I wanted it to have a light covering over top. And I also wound up adding a little bit of the tan, which I kind of put it on my brush and then I brushed it on, just like mixing it with the black, so it just made the color a little bit lighter. And then I fixed up again wherever it needed to be fixed up because of the little holes the brown was showing through on the other side. And so here's the finished piece. I really like the way it turned out. It's spooky, but not super spooky. And for the last piece, it is also from the Dollar Tree. It is this battery operated, I think cobbler school or something it says on it. It's one of the Christmas Village houses that they have, which I wanted to make into a haunted house. You could probably buy all of those Christmas Village houses and make them all haunted houses. And so what I'm just doing is I am adding some of the black. And again, this one I'm just making the house look dirty. So I wanted to keep some of the original colors, and I just wanted it to look like it had been aged and abandoned. So that's what I'm doing here, is adding that metallic and black combination color and just adding it to the entire house. Anything that was white, I wanted to look dirty. I wanted the roof to look dirty. I wanted everything to look kind of dirty. And then I also do the same idea with the hot glue to make it look like it's full of cobwebs. And then I just wind up painting lightly over top of it once it dries again. And then I add a little bat to this house as well, and like from those wooden shapes. And that's all there is to this haunted house. You'll see everything put together. I'll do a Halloween house tour probably in the next week or two, and then you can see everything put together. I like to have my house done for Halloween by October 1st, but we're having a party on Saturday for my kids. So I'm going to see if I can get everything done for Halloween, but I'm very ambitious and still working every day, so it's going to be a little bit hard to try and get everything done. I have a bunch of appointments as well for me and my son, so we'll see. We'll see what I wind up getting done. I'll try my best to get as much done as I can. I would like to put out another video for you for Halloween with Dollar Tree Halloween DIYs, and then I want to use that all in my decor. So that's why I'm saying week or two, as I might not be able to make it quite the to next week to have everything done. But here it is all completed. Hopefully you think this is as neat as I do. And then here are all three completed together, and I just kind of made a little vignette for you so you could kind of get an idea of what they will eventually look like.